When I was a kid, I loved being in the pool. Like, I was the one that was begging to go to the pool all the time, and I loved swimming.
She is high energy all the time, pretty much. She talks fast, swims fast, all of that. Yeah, no, she's just very bubbly and likes to conversate.
My mom started me on a team, and I loved it, although when I started to realize I was good at it was when all the pressure came in. And there was a point where it wouldn't become fun anymore. Like, I was very disciplined in the sport, and after a while it kind of became a job. If I didn't do something well in practice, we'd go back to the pool after practice and work on it. And if I didn't do well in a meet, it felt like it affected my self-esteem a lot. And it was really hard to separate self-esteem with your achievements. And there was a time where I thought, like, maybe swimming isn't for me, but then I got back into it, started to love it again.
She wasn't able to compete at all for us freshman year, but we trained together, and her and I do a lot of the same events, so we're side by side since second semester freshman year.
The beginning of the season practices were going very well. I was doing very well in the pool and whatnot, and then about 2 weeks before I went up to Woody and said, look, I can't do this anymore, I need time away.
You know, when Haley approached us in the fall, I think we knew that she was struggling a little bit. I don't think we particularly knew the extent. We weren't wholly unprepared, but it was still a bit of a shock when you see your, arguably one of your tougher kids kind of go down.
It was sort of just the general dysphoria I was feeling. The fact that it felt like such an obstacle to get up, even go to class and practice it. It felt too much, and I knew I needed to tackle it in another way than just swimming it off, sort of thing. Something I had done in the past if I had a problem, and I knew that trying to do that again wasn't going to work.
She didn't really tell anybody at the beginning what was going on, and then she had sat out for a little while, and she came to me after a few weeks of it, and I kind of understood that it was serious and that she might not be back.
The first time I realized was when the thought of even taking a shower felt like the biggest obstacle in the world, or when I didn't feel like myself around my teammates, and they noticed and whatnot, and it was almost embarrassing to me. And when I didn't feel like I could reach out to people and I felt isolated, that's sort of when I knew when I wasn't enjoying things that I normally enjoy.
It's definitely hard to hear. It makes you sad, definitely, especially I had a similar experience freshman year, so I kind of know, especially, I don't know, I know it's really hard to admit that to someone else too, so even her just telling me what she was going through was a big step, so I mean, I kind of realized the magnitude of what she was telling me.
There was a lot of things going on with my family and my upbringing. Like, I've experienced things that I now realize they're not normal. And can be seen as traumatic, but I always looked at it very objectively, like, oh, this happens and it doesn't need to affect me. I can just bury it down.
I don't think we necessarily needed to root out the cause of the depression. I think that was something for her to figure out. Honestly, as she did progress through the process, I think she was more and more willing to share and more willing to be open and vulnerable.
My mom was there for me, and she paid for swimming, and she drove me to practice and whatnot, and I know she cares about me. We have a hard time discussing our feelings and whatnot, but we don't have the very cliche mother-daughter relationship, I would say. There was definitely a lot of turmoil between us growing up, and she was a single mother of 3, working 3 jobs, so she couldn't always be there and whatnot, and we couldn't always connect and whatnot, and she always wanted me to achieve in swimming, even if it drove us apart, sort of thing, and which it did a lot. But now that we're in college, our relationship has gotten better. We just have a bad time showing her, like, I love my mother, but she loves me, and we just have a hard time showing it. I've never met my biological father, and a lot of people haven't, and I had a stepdad up until I was 8. My parents got divorced, and let's just say he was not a great guy, and it was definitely hard because I sort of felt like I wasn't good enough, or like there was a sense of abandonment there, and so it was hard to trust like adult figures, but my grandparents were amazing role models for me, and my grandpa was sort of like my dad, which was very hard when he passed. My swim coaches played, and swimming in general played a huge role in my life, and I hate when people feel the pressure that they need to play a certain role for me, but they always have, and it was very nice to have people on my side and listen to my story and hear me out and care about me.
Our biggest concern from the get-go was making sure that she had the right people around her, and balancing, getting professional help with, feeling like she can walk into our office and tell us anything that she needed along the way.
You take the most delicate approach that you can. You want to let the person know that their value is as a person, not as an athlete or even as a student. So letting them know that they're in a safe place to communicate, I think, is the first step to trying to solve any problem.
Honestly, I didn't know what to expect from them. I knew that they really cared and are very understanding people, but the fact that they're very patient about it, like they let me take weeks off, ease back into it, and that was a big deal to me, because I thought I was going to have to quit if I wasn't going to be able to contribute. And Woody was like, no, you don't need to quit, like we'll give you the time. And after climbing out of this dark place, it made my results even better. So I think they know they did the right thing, I know I did the right thing, and it's really a testament to that.
Mental health has just always been something that's been kind of swept under the rug, and I think especially in college athletics and in professional athletics, it just continues to be swept under the rug, and it's not really a dialogue that people have often, just because it's not fun and sunny or it's not dramatic in a way that kind of sells. But I think it's definitely something that's extremely important, and I think Haley's a good sort of poster child for realizing that it is okay to have this conversation and it is something that is important to talk about.
I've come a long way. Like, I can be doing well in school, I can be achieving in swimming, and during that time I still felt incredibly worthless, and I felt very weak. And it makes me cry to think about, because I know that that's not true, but that was like my truth for a while, and it's a lot of people's truth when they're experiencing that, and that's how serious it is. It makes you feel so insignificant, and that nothing you do really matters, and that people don't care about you, and you don't love yourself, and you don't love others, and you feel like people don't love you.
I know when I was going through it, getting back in the pool for me was kind of, you're able to get out of your head a lot in the pool, and you're able to get lost in like the team and what the team's doing, and even obviously when you come back after sitting out, you're not going to be running practice, setting the pace, but even seeing your teammates be successful around you, it's really easy to get lost in that and kind of forget about your own things, even if it's just for an hour or two at practice.
I think Ida, having gone through it, is then as a team captain, she was, in communicating with her, not being able to tell her everything, but her understanding that the team needed to be patient, and they needed to be supportive, and they needed to be understanding. I think in any sport, but especially swimming, we're so driven all year long that when someone leaves the group, it's hard for us, unless they've got a broken bone or a concussion or something, they have to really just understand the depth that pain is. And I think Ida communicated that effectively, and I think as Haley came back and was able to integrate in the group, they kind of understood mental health is much like an injury or an illness or anything else, and it takes time for the person to recover.
I really enjoyed coming back, and I know my teammates didn't know the extent of what was going on, but just the fact that they were there and they're like, hey, like we'd love to have you come back and like see you every day, meant a lot to me. I realized that the biggest thing that made me feel like I could come back is feeling valued. Feeling valued by people that you care about is something that can really turn it around.
We're extremely lucky to have the coaching staff that we do, because I know a lot of times, like for me, my freshman year, I sat out also during off season, and I know a lot of times that this can be something that ends a career, and especially in collegiate swimming, sitting out isn't something that a lot of coaching staffs would allow. So I think that I think we all realize that we're just really lucky to have the support that we do from our coaches, and to have coaches who realize that mental health is such an important part of living and of the sport.
Honestly, now I'd feel weak not discussing it. I feel like conquering it is a big deal, and I may not be 100% healed. It can come back. But I think not talking about it silences it even more. I think it makes it even worse for people who are experiencing it because it is incredibly serious. So many athletes struggle with it, and a lot of people don't want to come out and talk about it. And I think this honestly helps show that you can overcome it and that there are people to support you, and like here are the resources and here are people you can talk to that aren't going to judge you for it, and that you're not alone. And so I do look at it, and it does push me because now I feel like if you can do this, like there should be nothing stopping you.
Really early on when she came back to practices, she showed very early on signs that she basically hadn't skipped a beat. So we knew that the potential for something great was definitely there.
Coach Mack and I sat down every day. We would kind of, okay, where are we at? What are we thinking? How's she doing? You know, I think we knew that with Haley's mentality, Haley doesn't know, she has an on and an off switch. There's nothing really in between, that she'll go. So we expected her to have high-level performances. Being Mountain West Swimmer of the Meet and Swimmer of the Year, I don't even think that was, we'd never even discussed that. We had no idea. So that was a huge, huge accomplishment.
I didn't feel ready at all. I honestly didn't think I was gonna go, and I was more leaning towards redshirting because in the past I've trained like crazy for these kinds of meets. And then going into it having not that background of training, I was like, well, okay, I'll go, but with no expectations, and I'll do my best, obviously. It could be a major blow to my confidence, which could make things worse, but after going, it really made me feel like I could do anything. Like, people who suffer from this can overcome it and come out on top.
Even in off-season practices, knowing that, oh, I'm swimming next to the Mountain West Swimmer of the Year, like that definitely, like you're thinking about that and that's pushing you.
You build expectations through day-to-day, procedures and processes. So you're always looking at little short-term goals to get you to that last stretch. At the same time, what's the saying? We make plans and God laughs. So my expectations for her are to be healthy and mentally focused and happy. And I think if those things fall into place, I think success is inevitable for her. I just don't know what that's going to be.
I was kind of worried about that. I was like, well, damn, I still have another year. And after getting Swimmer of the Year and winning 2 titles, I was like, can I top that? But with this new mindset, I think that I can. I'm actually so motivated, and where before I was definitely not this motivated. So now I definitely have a drive to train even harder, still take care of myself, like don't just stop, but I'm gonna keep doing that, not just because I feel better, but keep doing that. I think great things can happen, and even if they don't, I'm like proud of the person I've become, and I'll never forget this season.